Hello, welcome to Fiber Trek. My name is Sarah. This is episode 55. I'm coming to you from an unorganized territory in northern Maine, which makes for some great wildlife viewing, as some of you have mentioned previously in threads on the forum and Ravelry and in social media. I will do my best to not be distracted, although I can see the loon off the point and the ruby-throated hummingbird has been here earlier. That's why I tend to keep looking out this way. So I will do my best to look this way. So if you are a new viewer, thank you so much for taking the time to invest in checking out the podcast. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. You are all most welcome here. And I hope that you find some content that contributes to your own crafting endeavors and adventures. So today on the podcast, we have introductions. I have some finished items. I have spinning and sewing, acquisitions and discoveries, and Shackleton report, just on my project itself. I don't have any Shackleton content per se. And I have some odds and ends, just fun little bits and pieces to talk about, some inspiring stuff that's happening, and other podcasts that have created or generated some interest for me. And so let's start with introductions. I have Hot Tamale 1985, who is Anne. She's a teacher in Colorado who knits and crochets, sews, quilts, bakes, and paints. She just checked out the book, The Endurance by Alfred Lansing. I hope you enjoy that, Anne. It's one of my husband's favorites. I have four girls, who is Tracy. She is a lifelong knitter and a new spinner and an avid collector of yarn. So am I. And her, she describes that her ultimate fiber trek would be collecting yarn through Northern Europe. So I will be joining you on that. I have Davies, who is knitting, a knitter from England. She is interested in road tripping through Maine as a dream fiber trek and learning to spin as a Shackleton. So I hope that you follow through on that Shackleton adventure. I have Jerry Leslie from Georgia. She has family who have moved to Holton, Maine, and has spent some time in this area. And she is thinking about a Shackleton project and thinking about a fiber trek to the UK. That would be awesome as well. I have Angora, who's doing a Croft Hoose sweater out of handspun. So you should think about joining that Shackleton along. We have plenty of time. And TR Steves 57, who is Tracy, who is a new knitter and heard about us on the Fruity Knitting podcast with Andrew and Andrea. And she is working on moving and advancing her knitting even more. So welcome. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves in the thread. So let's get started on some finished items, which are, of course, at the bottom of my piles here. Let me just make some room. You can enjoy the... Well, there's no bird songs now, but... So, finished items. So this is going to be a combination. I'm just going to do finished pieces, both sewing and knitting, and then works in progress, both sewing and knitting. So I'm going to try to do a better job if you're listening. I did have an inquiry about the iTunes video availability, and I am currently working on my compression numbers. So I can compress fairly well for YouTube, but I can't at this point compress my high definition video enough to meet the server expectation for my iTunes feed. So I'm working on that, and stay tuned. So the first finished object or item that I have is, I wonder if this is going to work. This is the Miss Rachael sweater by Kate Davies. It is a yoke sweater. It's knit from the bottom up in her buccal yarn, and the colorway, the main colorway of the sweater is the Har colorway, which is like a frost gray, and then a series of other colors in the yoke, kind of reflective of a paisley pattern in bands. And you've got yellow in there and reds and kind of this really cool like thistle color and green color. So I really like the way it fits. I can wear this next to skin. I probably will wear a tank top underneath it. I kind of like my sweaters a little bit fitted for the most part. I'm thinking that I would probably wear this particular one over a skirt or something like that. It's a bit short. It hits right at just below my waist, right at my hip bone. I do know that I have a longer torso, and I should have taken that into account when I was doing this. So I think with the kind of a flowy tank top underneath, I'll maybe buy myself a few inches and not feel like, I don't necessarily feel like every time I lean over or, you know, kind of bend over whatever I'm doing that the sweater is rising up in the back, but it just doesn't feel comfortable to me. So I'm thinking maybe just a little bit of an undershirt will make all the difference. So anyway, that's done. I knit this on a US 4, which was one needle size above the US recommendation. And I knit the size 6. I knit the 38. And I got gauge, so it fits well. So there it is. I'm happy to have this done. I had a little sweater paralysis. I always like to have a sweater on the needles. I don't right now. And so as soon as I got this off, I blocked it, woven all the ends. I was really happy to move it along, and I went to figure out what my next sweater was going to be, and I was having a really hard time, and I had a discussion with my husband about it, and I was thinking about another Kate Davies pattern, which is her Icelandic out of her Yokes book, but I couldn't figure out my colors and if I had enough. So, and I was like epistrophe out of the Kate Davies, but that was color work, and I was like, maybe I don't want to do color work. So I believe, I think I have settled on the Cerise, which is a textured pattern, knit top down. It's a cardigan, and there's a textured yoke to it. And let me see if I can give you a visual for those of you that are watching. I've shown it before. I'm going to knit this out of the Nash Island 2-ply that came back from Hampton Fiber Mill and was gifted to me from Just a Little Gray. And so I wondered if maybe I just needed a little palette cleanser. I know you're all like, that's not very, over the top colorful, but I had been doing quite a bit of color work, and the sweater before this I did quite a bit of twisted stitch and cabling, and so I thought, maybe I just need a little moment of me in just gray. So this is Cerise. It's by Linnea Oman. I think I've shown it before, and it kind of has this, I think this picture shows it the best, kind of has this textured yoke, kind of in leaves. They look like leaves. I don't know, are you getting any of that? So I think that'll be great. So that's what's going on the needles next. I say that, I may have another moment. All right, so that's finished. And you're going to go live where? Maybe here? The other thing I finished is another Endless Summer tunic. I have done this one, which I'm wearing, and it's done out of knits. Now this pattern is, the pattern recommends wovens, but at Clementine in Rockland, which is my fabric go-to, she was wearing it in a knit and said that, making the transition from woven to knit can work better than knit to woven. So I took her recommendation, and I absolutely love these. I live in them. It's like wearing your pajamas, but you're not wearing your pajamas. So I did a second one in this mushroom knit, and it's a really pretty robin's egg blue with little mushrooms on it. And then I finish all of these because I really enjoyed this part of the project. I finish all of the edges with binding and then hand stitching the binding on. And this is a Cretan stitch that I use. This is from Alabama Channon. this technique and this recommendation. I did get to use my serger for the first time on a knit project here, and I had really good luck with it and have since started to use it much more regularly, and you'll see that in my couple other projects I've been working on. So yeah, so I was really happy with how that serging went, and it didn't pull or pucker the fabric, and I was able to keep up with the machine and not hack off my fingers or hack off important pieces of the fabric. So yeah, so I want to make like 17,000 more of these. I'm thinking that for teaching in the fall, I'm planning to make a couple long sleeve bolero style Alabama Shannon knit tops, and that the bolero would fit perfectly over this. So you could still wear this with some leggings and you know, a pair of dance coats and a bolero. And I don't know why. I don't do tank tops at school. I don't know what that's about. It's just me. So I was like, oh, well, that's how I can wear these and get away with it. So that's finished. This is finished. This is the Cinema Dress top. So I shortened it, obviously, and I made it a top. I don't know if I can't quite see, if you can see there. And it sits just below my hips. And you can see I did the yoke out of that bee kind of pattern fabric, and then just a dark matte black woven. So this has basically a yoke section, which is self-faced, and then princess seams and gathering at the waist. I also moved the waist higher, so it's more of an on-pier waist. And it, you know, because of the structure of the fabric, it kind of acts like a bit of a peplum around, and I kind of like it. At first I put it on and I was like, ooh, but when I put it on with a skirt, and I put it on with a pair of jeans and kind of a heeled clog, and it was kind of funky, and I kind of liked the shape it gave me. So I had a lot of trouble with my machine, and I chose not to do buttonholes. This is a series of buttons down the back, which is fastening, so you have a back set of buttons. And so I know this is a little elementary and childish, but I'm just using snaps with a button kind of faced over it. So I know, but I had a really hard time with my machine producing the buttonholes on this fabric, and I just didn't want to put the time in on this particular project to hand do the buttons. So I think for some pieces of sewing, I really enjoy hand embroidery and hand sewing, and other things I just, like this, I was like, I just don't want to do that. So I'll talk about hand sewing in another garment, which is important to me, but this wasn't, and I just wanted to be able to wear it. It's a functional piece of clothing. And so, can you hear the jet ski out there? Or what do they call them? Wave crashers, wave dodgers, wave riders? Wave runners, that's what it is. So those are all the items that I finished, I believe. Let's talk about things I'm working on. So for knitting, I am working on the Croft House hat by Ella Gordon. She's the patron designer of Shetland Wool Week, and this is the design. You may know that the bobble hat was last year's design by Donna Smith. Oh, that's something I forgot to grab. I think it's upstairs. I got the Haps book by Kate Davies. So here it is. I haven't worked on it much. It's done in a series of blues, greens, and grays. So this is a color work hat, and it's done with little houses and stripes, and you kind of alternate colorways. It has corrugated ribbing, and I'm just about to finish my last row of stripes. I'm doing this out of Starcraft Tide, which performs very much like Jameson jumper weight. And so I'm getting a lot of nice sticky yarn, really wonderful for color work, and Janny helped me pick this out. So I don't know if you can see. Those colors aren't coming up as they should, but It's dark, little dark houses and lighter roofs. So I have a dark green house and a light green roof, a dark blue house and a light blue roof. And the background on the greens is white, and the background on the blue houses is this subtle gray. No surprise. So, yeah, so I'm going to put some full force into this pattern. I'm almost finished with it, and that will be done and ready for fall and winter. Oops, somebody's peeping out there. I'm also working on my Shackleton project. I am knitting Kate Davies Frost at Midnight. This is a lace weight cardigan knit from the bottom up and flat with a picot edge and a beaded yoke of trees. And I am knitting mine out of a signature yarn. This is the Shackleton base from Starcraft. So I designed this yarn with Janny because I could not find a yarn that would work for me for this project that I wanted to use. So the original base for this project was 50-50 wool and silk. This base is 5% silk and 95% Flat Island gray fleeces. And I'm very happy with that. And that luster is true to form. So what you see there, those of you that are listening probably don't need to be told, but this is a gorgeous gray, pewter gray. It's really, really fun. So I have almost finished the picot piece of what I need to do for the project. And here is how it's knitting up. You can see I've done the provisional cast on the bottom, and I will loop that up, and that is how we get the picot edge. Oh. Not in. I'm just being, I'm like totally that old grouchy woman that's like, stay off my lawn. But anyway, can you see the picot there? Yeah. So once I do that, then I will knit straight on until I'm ready to join the arms. Although I may do some shaping. I gotta figure that out. So I need to wind my new hank. I've just finished my first ball and wasn't a full on. That was a sample. For those of you that are interested, I know I never talk about my bags, but this is Danica Studios, and I got this from Sweet Fibers in British Columbia. And the other one is a Little Skein in the Big Wool, and that is her Mary Poppins bag. So, other works in progress include some sewing. I finished quite a few things, and so I need to do some cutting. I am working on the Ashland Dress by So Liberated. It looks like this. It's kind of prairie chic. It's got a bodice and a skirt that's darted, and this is going to be 3/4 length sleeves. Here's the line drawing. You can have pockets or no. It ties in the back. It also has a hidden zip. I've never done that before, so we'll see. I'm doing this out of an Anna Griffin fabric I found at Martin's, which is a discount store near my parents'. There's actually quite a few of them over the state. And I have finished the bodice, which doesn't look very nice there because of the wrinkles. And I had to put in 2 darts. So we have dart 1, ouch, dart 2 here. I watched Sew Over It. I subscribed to her blog. She is a teacher, fabric curator, and shop owner in London, and she has tutorials, and I watched her dart 1, which was helpful. And so, I mean, I kind of, oh, I got something on it. I kind of knew what I was doing, but I wasn't 100% sure. I can't believe I've already stained my dress and I'm not even wearing it. So, sorry I'm doing that on camera. So anyway, I'm trying to give you how that will hopefully look. Let's do this. Is that helpful at all? Has buttons down the front of this placket here. but I love the way this is coming together. It is going to require some hand sewing. So on the inside, because the bodice is faced and so is the band, I'm going to need to hand sew down that facing right here, which I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do. So that just gets hand sewn down. But I love this fabric. It's a gorgeous kind of mustard yellow with red floral. They kind of look like snowflakes all over. So that is in progress. And there will be other projects in progress soon because I'm planning to cut today and tomorrow. So, all right. The last thing that I've been working on, and I'm just throwing this in for fun, is I make these wrap bracelets, and this one is a labradorite and leather wrap bracelet. So the beads are rondelles, and it's a dark brown leather. And I love making them. This is going to be a double wrap, comme ça. So I've been working on that. It's been great to be back, kind of doing my bracelet work. I have done some, I made some progress on my Sami bracelet for my husband. So kind of got that stuff all out again. So it's within reach and you know, kind of brewing in my head. I will say that I watched a blog or vlog on a craft room studio tour and started to daydream a little bit about how that would make a difference in my life to have a studio where things were out with stations so that you could just walk over to your station and pick it up. So all my hand embroidery, all the ornaments that I make, all the bracelets, sewing, that all has to kind of be put away you know, most of the time. My sewing I haven't put away all summer. I've just kept everything out on the dining room table. But I was thinking about, you know, how much more efficient that would be for me in getting things done and moving through my crafting. Tasha Tudor, who is a children's illustrator and book author, and she lives in Vermont. I think she's since passed, but she lived as if she was living in the 19th century. She made dolls and she did all sorts of handwork. And one thing that she said, because I think somebody asked her, how did she get it all done? And she said, just by doing 20 minutes a day on each thing, you know, attention to each thing at each moment for so many minutes a day. And so I would love to set up my house a little bit like that, so I could just kind of move through each of these spaces with, you know, fluidity and not get everything out, put it all back, etc. So anyway, I was thinking a little bit about that even as I look at my little crafting home right now. So we live in this space, we make in this space, we craft in this space. My husband, you know, he's a knitter and a fly tyer and a leather worker and, you know, an amateur blacksmith. Yeah, he was using our wood stove for blacksmithing. He made a curved knife this year. So, yeah, there's always kind of something going on. And, yeah, just something to think about. Right. I think, spinning. Let's talk a little bit about spinning. So in spinning, I'm going to add something that's kind of related to spinning. It's dyeing. I know. You're like, what? It's not a natural color? So I finished spinning this Cormo from Yempa Fiber Mill. This is a singles that has had one wash and then I set it to dry. I am going to put it onto 2 bobbins and make it a 2-ply. The reason it is currently a singles is because I was thinking I would take it off into a center pull ball and spin it from the outside inside into a 2-ply because I was feeling lazy, and that just didn't work out for me. So I put it on the nitty naughty and washed it, and now I'll just spin it as a 2-ply off a bobbin. So that's what's going to happen to this. And then Upton Yarns was here visiting, Sarah, and I filmed a Wool Heroes and Heroines segment with her, which I will include at another point. But she was doing some indigo dyeing for customers, and we threw in some Icelandic of mine. This is a gray Icelandic. I think this is 3 dips. I know, it's pretty stunning. And so that was just a fun day. I will, like I said, I'll tell you more about that day when I include the video. She actually takes you through her indigo dyeing and her history and her interest, and so it's, you know, we'll let her tell this story. But anyway, just kind of fun. I need to go grab some things because we're going to do acquisitions and discoveries. So just hold on. So let's do acquisitions and discoveries. I'm sorry about my light. Should I move it a little bit more? It's been a hard kind of day. It's been cloudy. It's too hot for me to sit outside. So hopefully you've been able to see some stuff. Acquisitions and discoveries. So I got the Haps book, which is an edited collection by Kate Davies and Jen Arnold. It includes patterns that are inspired and based on hap construction by Gudrun Johnston, Martina Beam, Rosalind Chapman, Carol Feller, Lucy Haig, Romy Hill, Bristol Ivy, Helen Magnuson, Donna Smith, Hazel Tyndall, Tom Van Dingen, and Vera Valimaki. And while there are not a lot of patterns in here that I would knit, they're interesting and innovative. I will say just the documentation alone, what Kate Davies has to write about and talk about, I mean, it's so awesome to read. And I have all of Kate Davies' books, and I really wasn't going to let this one go. Just the pictures and the archival discussion is just so fascinating. There's also a picture of Louise of Knit British in here, and Gudrun Johnston as children. So I have, I'm not really going to review the books. Kate Davies speaks for herself. I believe most everything she puts out is of quality and enriches the community. And so I definitely am inspired by her pattern. This is Motor Dye. It's a square hat with the with color work on the outside and a lace knit-on border, and also Donna Smith, which both of these will look very traditional to you, and you'll be like, oh, of course she picked those. Let me see if I can find it. So Donna Smith's is a lace weight hap, and generally in Shetland knitting patterns weren't written down, and knitters relied on looking at other garments and information being passed on from the others, including family members. For me personally, I feel it is extremely important to explore the older technique and patterns and use them in a contemporary way. It is a way to connect with the past on both a personal and cultural level while helping to understand a little bit of Shetland history. So this is Hooland. I think it's a triangle, and with the knitted on border. Just stunning. I also really loved the Hexa Hat by Tom Van Dingen. It's a big hexagon shape you can see here, I think. It's just a really fascinating construction pattern. I love how big it is, and he knit this with buckle, so in Har and Squall, which is a sport weight. So nice big cushy. I'm sorry for pronouncing his name wrong. I'm just going with it. And then the other one that grew on me as I looked at it is the Nut Hat by Jen Arnold. And I just love this color work rib. It's not ribbing. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, it came and went. It's an interesting shape with ribbing and this kind of welt looking type stockinette welts almost. So yeah, And she knit that with Rowan felted tweed, which gives it a really kind of muted look, tweedy look. I also really loved Gudrun Johnston's contribution to the book. It says Langair. Just really fun colorway, large shawl. And this is knit in Jameson Smith's 2-ply jumper weight, striped. Just a lot of fun. So I think there's something in here for everybody. All the fans of these designers, I think, will find what they've pulled forth through the lens of the hat to be interesting and well worth a knit and an investment in the book. So thank you, Kate Davies and Jen Arnold Culliford, for just a great composition. So I got that. I also picked up, as a gift, I ran the retreat, the Title Tours retreat on the Bold Coast of Maine, which is down east, in Machiasport. We had a full retreat. We had old friends and new friends come. We did 2 sessions and filled both, and so that was really gratifying and flattering. Just really excited that people would drive that far to spend time with myself and Jody of Maine Yarn and Fiber Supply, and it was a pretty awesome time with really awesome food and awesome weather. So I picked, Bluebird Nest. Irene brought me this beautiful Shetland 2-ply in a cream colorway from the Abbey of Regina Laudis in Bethlehem, Connecticut. It's a 2-ply sport weight, 250 yards, and this is a 2015 clip, and they do a very small offering, very small clip. So cool, huh? From the Abbey. Anyway, this is a real soulful stash, something to treasure. I also picked up at the retreat a goodie bag. These were our goodie bags this year. These totes are pretty awesome. I like that they're kind of shallow, not shallow, but they're not like exceptionally deep bags, so you can kind of knit right out of them. They also have a water bottle holder on the side and pockets on the inside. So everybody got this. Everybody got to saltwater and solar dye yarn, and everybody got a skein of Maine Icelandic yarn and some other goodies. So those were really fun, and I was happy to get one. The other thing I picked up, which I've been looking forward to and I can't seem to find, here it is. These are still available. My dear friend and amazing jeweler, Heather Perry, who designed this Shepherdess shield necklace, this year she did a bracelet, and I got one, of course. And the texture that you see on the bracelet is pressed into the metal, and it is created from hand-spun Nash Island wool. So, I mean, these are so special. And I picked one of those up, got a matching set. The earrings that I'm wearing are Heather Perry, but these are pressed with antique lace textiles. So who knows what we'll do for next year. Those of you who are coming to Highlands on the Fly, there will be availability of this Shepherdess line there, but you can also order these through Maine Yarn and Fiber Supply, which is one loop-in, I believe, on the web. So contact me if you're interested. I'm happy to set you up. And yeah, so there's a few of these available. So if you want a Shepherdess shield, let us know, and we will have necklaces available, I believe, in the fall for the Highlands on the Fly. So Highlands on the Fly is happening the weekend after Rhinebeck. It is Thursday to Sunday, and Mary Jane Mucklestone will be joining us for a keynote speech on Friday. I'm really excited about that. There's some pretty amazing vendors. We eat really good food. I'm teaching a class on those wrap bracelets. I have other people teaching a couple classes. I got some dye steps going on. So if you're looking for some fun in the fall and you want to head to northern Maine, another remote area of Maine, then come join us at Highlands. I think, yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention there was I will be going to Rhinebeck And I will be attending with Janny, and I will be there on Saturday and Sunday, I believe. So I plan to attend the podcaster meetup, but certainly if you see me, say hello. I will hopefully have some swag to hand out, and hopefully we'll be, you know, eating lots of good food and checking out the scene. This will be my first Rhinebeck. Excellent. The other thing I wanted to point out at this stage of the game, what am I forgetting here? I feel like I've forgotten something, but I'm looking around and I don't see anything. Oh, I know. So I happened to hear from Corey of iRock Knits, and she's working on a pretty interesting project. I'm including this in Acquisitions and Discoveries because she sent me something that will be most helpful for the podcast, but also is very cool. And it's this bracelet with the Fiber Trek tagline on the bottom, which says, "May all your treks include fiber and bring you back home safe." See, now I don't have to remember it. I can just read it off my wrist. So thank you so much, Corey. She is endeavoring with Just Run It on a pretty cool project. I don't know how much I can say. She shared this with me, and this is her big accomplishment, and Megan of Stuck in It Zombies. It's their big accomplishment, and lots of great, amazing announcements to be made. So I'm going to sit on that for a little while, and then maybe share that once they've released information. So nice, something to look forward to, and I'm really happy with the collaboration that they're doing and the work that they're going to put out for the community. All right, I'm getting very close. Oh, the contest. I am doing a Wool Heroes and Heroines contest. I was generously donated a gift certificate by Shop Teasel, and I just want to double check. I'm pretty sure I remember. Let me double check. Hold on. So the giveaway. Actually, I have a ton more things to talk about, but it's 45 minutes in. Eee. So the giveaway is through Shop Teasel, and I was thinking about a way to really highlight this donation, and it's a $25 gift certificate to her shop plus the shipping to get your items. So I was thinking for Wool Heroes and Heroines that this would be a nice prize giveaway. And what I would like to have you do is go to the Ravelry thread and tell me who your Wool Hero and Heroine is, as well as check out Shop Teasel and pick out something that you think would be fun to add to your stash or to work with or your home or something. So there's two pieces here. One is to nominate a Wool Hero or Heroine, and the second is to show Shop Teasel some love and tell me what you would buy with your gift certificate. So that will be open until the next podcast. Again, it's the Wool Heroes and Heroines giveaway with Shop Teasel. I will be pulling that from the Ravelry thread, and the details will be outlined there. So lots of fun. Thank you so much for that donation, and I look forward to hearing about Wool Heroes. So I had a question put forth by Amy Dozer on Ravelry about the best breeds to use for and yarns for sweaters and garment construction. And I wanted to throw this out there to everybody because I'm obviously kind of biased, maybe a little bit, and tend to use a lot of long wool and primitive breeds in my knitting. And I'm also a spinner, and I think that this question is really more about yarn construction than it is about breed specific. But there is room in garment knitting for all types of breeds and what they lend to the garment. So it's really understanding the construction of your yarn and what your final outcome is going to be, I think, is the process that we're talking about here. So I'm going to save this question for next time. I'm going to bring some examples of sweaters that I've knit and how they've worn and talk a little bit about yarn construction. But in the meantime, if you have any interest in thinking about this and contributing to it, just go ahead and comment in the episode thread, and I'll see if I can culminate some ideas here about breeds for sweaters, and or I think that she's very cute about, particularly for sweaters to wear in Maine. And I'll talk a little bit about some place-based yarns that might be of interest as well in Maine for Maine sweaters. So if you are interested in contributing to that conversation, please feel free to comment, and Amy, I will bring some examples and kind of round out my answer so that, again, it's more about the technical application and yarn construction, and then looking at some of the different breeds and what you might find within these different yarn constructions. So Shetland constructed this way versus Coopworth versus, constructed this way. So let's kind of play around with some of those combinations and see what we come up with. All right. I think I only have one more thing to cover, and this is dedicated to Sarah of Yarns at Yenhu. She is running a Eat Your Words read along, and it's writing about food. And I haven't really been able to participate in the way that I would like to, which basically means reading a book about food. But every time I listen to the podcast, I think about one of the most influential food books I've read, and in a visceral way. I mean, I've done Michael Pollan and Fast Food Nation and all of those kind of books, and I remember my mom saying this to me too, which is she loved reading The Farmer Boy by Laura Ingalls Wilder because of the breakfast description. And I wanted to share with you some descriptions about food that were written in The Farmer Boy, and I just think Sarah will get a kick out of them, and I believe that you will as well. Talking about fiber and yarn is very much the way that I feel about food, and I feel like this particular piece captures that, like that kind of visceral response that I have to yarn and fiber and place is very similar to food. So let's go here. Almanzo ate the sweet, mellow baked beans. He ate the bit of salt pork that melted like cream in his mouth. He ate mealy boiled potatoes with brown ham gravy. He ate the ham. He bit deep into velvety bread spread with sleek butter, and he ate the crisp golden crust. He demolished a tall heap of pale mashed turnips and a hill of stewed yellow pumpkin. Then he sighed and tucked his napkin deeper into the neckband of his red waist. And he ate plum preserves and strawberry jam and grape jelly and spiced watermelon rind pickles. He felt very comfortable inside. Slowly he ate a large piece of pumpkin pie. This is another passage. There was oatmeal with plenty of thick cream and maple sugar. There were fried potatoes and the golden buckwheat cakes, as many as Almanzo wanted to eat, with sausages and gravy or with butter and maple syrup. There were preserves and jams and jellies and donuts. But best of all, Almanzo liked the spicy apple pie with its thick, rich juice and its crumbly crust. He ate 2 big wedges of the pie. Almanzo took the biggest donut from the pan and bit off its crisp end. Mother was rolling out the golden dough, slashing it into long strips, rolling and doubling and twisting the strips. Her fingers flew. You could hardly see them. The strips seemed to twist themselves under her hand and to leap into the big copper kettle of swirling hot fat. Plump! They went to the bottom, sending up bubbles. Then quickly they came popping up to float and slowly swell till they rolled themselves over, their pale golden backs going into the fat and their plump brown bellies rising out of it. I just was so taken with that. I remember reading the breakfast one. It made such an impression on me, and so I found these passages on the website, thehairpin.com. Every meal Almanzo eat in Laura Ingalls Wilder Farmer Boy is I'll include the link, but I just thought that everyone would get a kick out of that and look at the connection between food and fiber and textiles. I believe that movement is catching up to the food movement and the concept of homegrown and local and crafted and slow. And I just felt like those passages really exemplified for me some, I don't know, visceral response. I'm actually very hungry right now. So without further ado, I will say a fond farewell, and may all your fiber treks, may all your treks include fiber and bring you back home safely. Till next time, bye.